All right, we're going to knock out lesson 4 here. The first thing that we need to do in lesson 4 is we are going to change any open levels to be turned off. In our case, we should, coming from level 3, not have any levels loaded. We just need to clear out our geometry collection watermelons by deleting them from our scene. Then we are going to set up our wheel and axle level so we can bring that visibility, right click make current, right click change streaming method to always loaded. And the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to see what happens. So we've got a couple of inclined planes, we've got some toy trucks, and this Lazy Susan. So actually I can hit 4, get to that default camera view, and we can hit play. So we see our truck has a wheel and axle, and our Lazy Susan has a wheel and axle, but our truck doesn't quite hit the Lazy Susan to activate it. So I'm going to drag it up, and I'm just going to put it higher up on that inclined plane and hit play again. So now with a little bit more speed, my Lazy Susan activates, and that cheese wedge hits the ball. And our goal is to get that ball into the buckets A and B using the truck to activate the Lazy Susan. Something they do note in the documentation is that we can toggle our world space versus local space on our gizmos using this item here right next to the scale tool. So we can toggle that, and now since my truck is angled, I'll just drag it up and down the wedge and it'll stay on that origin point, whereas when we had it on world, I had to drag it out and then up. So that's a difference there, but they show you in this lesson. We can also, if we zoom in on our truck, they're just highlighting that we've got our wheels showing in here. And if we're having issues grabbing our gizmo, we can hit G to get rid of those wheel indicators. But it also kind of changes the overall viewpoint of what we're looking at. So you'll want to remember to press G to bring back that scale there. Then they tell you to save. Good habit. Just save as we go. And at this point, I'm just going to have a space for you to pause and do that activity of getting the ball into bucket A. All right. So we've got an ability here on our Lazy Susan. We have another one of our blue diamonds that allows us to move in and out to change the width of our cheese, as well as how much cheese is actually showing. And so I'm just going to change mine to be, let's see, about 2/3 and the full width that it can be. And we can even change how tall our cheese is here on the cake, basically. So if we hit play, now we might be able to direct that ball in a more helpful way. So I actually hit mine the opposite direction that I want it to go. So I might readjust, make sure I don't move the cake, and then I'm actually moving that object there, bring it in, bring it out, change my cheese wedge, and see what happens this time. It might be pretty close. There we go, we get pretty close, and there it goes. We made it into bucket A. So now the next challenge again, get it into bucket B. So we've got that going for us. We can also change our cake size in the details panel. This is all the same. You can change your XYZ on here and see what that looks like. And there's some maxes and minimums that are set up as well. So that's something to pay attention to. And then we can also change the direction that our Lazy Susan spins and how fast it spins. So if I go 360 as opposed to negative 360, now it's going to spin the other way, and that might be an easier way to get it in. You'll also notice that you can set it to spin when it starts, and so that's something that you might utilize in our project. So now the next interface challenge, 2 turntables and a toy truck. For this challenge, you're being tasked to create a chain reaction. So we're going to duplicate this cheesecake. So I can hold Alt, drag it out, and make a second one. And our goal is to have the attributes. So the first ball triggers the second Lazy Susan until the last ball gets into bucket B. So duplicating any actors in the level, we can do it this way. And then we want to make sure that our second one is beginning on play, or the first one is beginning on play. That way we don't have to wait for our truck, and we have some flexibility there. So I'll give you time to work on that before we get into the engine activity. All right, hopefully you've got the ball into bucket B using this chain reaction of Lazy Susans. So the first thing they need us to do for the engine activity, I Meta Blues DJ. We are going to create a looping sound so that when our Lazy Susan turns, it makes sound, which means we need to use our Meta Sounds plugin. And so we're going to just double check if it's enabled or not. We're going to go to our edit and go to plugins, and then we can search for Meta Sound. And for the most part, it should be activated. At this point, it's out of the beta that it was in 5.1. But if it's not enabled, you'll just select it, and you might have to restart your engine, and that's just fine. We can restart the engine and get back to where we are. So once we've double-checked that, we are going to head into our content drawer, and they want us to head into our audio drawer. And in our audio drawer, we're going to right-click in an open space. We can find our sound drop down if we've got one. We've got an audio one up here at the top, and we're going to create a meta sound source. And we're going to call this our My Loop, so it's easy to find. Then we can double click My Loop to open it up, nest it up at the top so it's easy to get back to, and we are going to talk through some of these nodes. So for the most part, this should be relatively similar, but we'll keep walking through it. So on the left side of our graph, we have an input source, and on the right, we have our output. So we have an event output as well as our speaker output. So we will be able to check these things as we go. And we will start by getting rid of our one shot in our interfaces. So here on the left-hand side, we have members, we have interfaces, and we have details. So we're going to get rid of this UE source one shot. And that's going to get rid of that on finished output. So now we just have our on play and what it's outputting to. And so we are going to right click in an open space, and we're going to find a wave player. And since we are using a mono output, we'll use a mono wave player. So just this 1.0. We can put it in the middle. We can plug in our on play into the play, and we can find our asset here with the drop down, and we can find our rolling Susan is what it is called, rolling _ Susan. And so with that selected in there, we're going to enable our loop option. And then from our out mono, we can plug that into our output for out mono. With that all done, we can hit save, and we can play it to hear what it sounds like. Gives us an ability to kind of listen to what we just created. Then we can stop it, and we're happy with that, and we'll make sure we save again just to be safe. And now we're going to go and edit our Lazy Susan so that it plays this audio. So I'm going to open my content drawer, head to my geometry scripts, open my Lazy Susan, and this is where we can add my loop into our area here. So we are going to find the yellow commented box down here at the bottom where it says play SFX at location, and we are going to, let's see, enable our bookmarks. So we're going to go to window, and it wants us to do our bookmarks down here at the bottom. This has been different in the past, so we'll see if we actually need it. So they want us to add our my loop to the section. And so we will want my loop sound to play only where the lazy Susan is located in level. To do so, we duplicate the play sound at location. So we can Control D, get a second one here. Select it, Control D, duplicate it. We will now change that sound in the loop to my loop. My loop. That'll give us our meta sound that we just created. And now that we have the correct sound selected, we need it connected to the execution pins. So we need to drag these together. So we will drag that over. And then we need to tell the engine where our asset is. And they've already got this get actor location. So we'll drag that to the location pin. So now that our code is finished, we should see what we're seeing both on my screen. Let me actually drag it up because I think it was all behind my mini screen. And then you should also see it in the documentation. It should look the same. And we'll hit compile and save. And then after we've hit the compile button, we should see a green check mark that tells us that our code is working. We can go back to the Rube kitchen. And when we hit play, we should hear that sound playing on our one that's rolling and on the one that we activate. So that is good. We've made it to where we want to be. And so we will Control-Shift-S, and this leads us to our extension activities. So we want to replace the sound of the Lazy Susan with either your own recorded sound or some sound from the internet. Just make sure it's appropriate. We're going to look at how we can use the Lazy Susans rotated on their side. So if we grab our rotate tool, how could we potentially use them like this to pass along a ball or an object from one location to another? And then the last thing is to transport a ball using our truck. So how can we put a ball in the back of our truck? And so those are the extensions, and that is what I will look for in your screenshots. All right, that's all for lesson 4.